And we are live. Oh, here we go. We're already starting. All right. Welcome to Farmers Corners FC, the French football podcast. Should probably drink a bit of water. We're going to be talking about Ligue as usual. It's changed a little bit the last 3 weeks since I'm doing live instead of doing my usual podcast, but then I'm putting everything back on the podcast so you can always follow what we talk about. Obviously, with the live YouTube, I get some live chat going on, so I make sure to answer any question, and then it's a bit hard to put onto the podcast, but I try to explain as much as possible. This week we are going to talk about the news in Ligue 1, of course, what happened since the last live, and there's been quite a bit interesting and tiny little detailed news that will interest anybody who likes Ligue 1 and French football in general. Then we are going to discuss, obviously, the big game of the week, Paris Saint-Germain playing at the Etihad Stadium against Manchester City. We're going to talk quite a bit about that, just a bit of a good dive. You know, it's a unique opportunity for Paris Saint-Germain to try and get to a second Champions League final in a row. And this year, I guess, the regular way, if that makes sense, not in the bubble like they did last season. So we're going to talk quite a bit about this, and I guess the keys of the game and how can Paris potentially win in Manchester City, which is no easy feat when you look at the season Guardiola's and his men are having. After that, we're going to quickly discuss Matchday 35, the results, what happened, what that means on the table, and I wrote as a title, duels on the table, because it's like first and second playing against each other, fifth and sixth playing against each other, 17 and 18 playing against each other. So there's a bit going on in our Ligue 1 table. Sorry, anybody who doesn't like Marseille about the flag. It's no secret that I am a Marseille supporter, but I like to talk about everything Ligue 1, so I'm not going to be too biased. But I like to each week show something different from my football collection, and this is a flag from 1990, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, August 1990. I was 5 years old at the time, and it belonged to my father, and it's basically the recap of everything that Marseille had won until 1990, which doesn't include the Champions League that they won in '93, but it's still a very dear piece of collection for me that I will hopefully pass on to my own son, and that will stay in the family, because everyone is going to have to support Marseille regardless of where they're born, even if we are in Australia right now. Anyway, let's get into the podcast and let's talk about the news in Ligue 1 this week. I'm gonna just talk about everything that has happened, and we're going to dwell on a couple of it. First things first, Navas had extended his contract. Keylor Navas extended his contract with Paris Saint-Germain until 2024, which is obviously very good news for Paris Saint-Germain. The goalkeeper has been outstanding all season and is definitely no stranger to the fact that Paris Saint-Germain is still in the race for the title and still in the Champions League as well. So he's going to stay in Paris until 2024. The chats are well advanced, the talk I should say are well advanced and almost secured for Neymar to also keep his renew his contract, I should say. Not a lot of clubs can pay for Neymar anyway, so yeah, apparently he would stay in Paris Saint-Germain. In other news, rumors of Benzema maybe going back, thank you Matt, maybe going back to the French squad are resurging. I mean, we are 20 days away from Didier Deschamps announcing the squad for the Euro 2021, and to make sure the timing was proper, I guess the Benzema's main counsel and former agent was at the radio on RMC a couple of maybe 10 days ago, and he discussed the future for Karim Benzema, and he discussed the past as well and the reason why he's not in the French national team now. We all sort of know the story about Benzema and Deschamps, and if you don't, I invite you to look into it or to contact me privately, and then I'll discuss them with you. But long story short, the the main counsel of Karim Benzema said that it was not actually Deschamps' fault if Benzema is not playing with France right now, but it was apparently the fault of the president of the league, who's actually sort of preventing Benzema and Deschamps from communicating. I see what you're saying, Matt, but that guy was saying that basically Deschamps was considering Benzema almost his son and was very, very close to him. Obviously, that hurt. That it should have happened with racism, etc. But that's the first time that Benzema or one of his closest people actually talks openly about the fact that Benzema would actually like to come back to playing for the French national team, and that he would be sort of open to have a conversation with Deschamps, and that he has been open in the past to have that conversation with Deschamps. I mean, all this happened just over 5 years ago now, but that the president of the league sort of put the walls between Deschamps and Benzema. That guy Karim Zezere was also saying that if Deschamps really had a problem with Benzema, Deschamps' habit is to call the player and to tell him he has a problem with him, and the simple fact that Deschamps hasn't called personally Benzema sort of showed that Deschamps would be open to get him back in the squad, just like he did for Rabiot. Benzema obviously has had a year for the ages with Real Madrid this season. We know that Deschamps loves Giroud in his squad, and for all the right reasons, but Giroud is not playing this much right now with Chelsea. He didn't even come in last week against Real Madrid in the semi-final. So maybe it's the opening for Benzema. I mean, he's a mature, very selfless player right now in Real Madrid. Obviously, he plays under Zidane, and Zidane and Deschamps must have a relationship. So we might have a surprise during the announcement. I don't hold on to too much hope, but it was interesting to see this rumor coming back a month before the squad is decided, and for once it's not a journalist who brought it on, it's actually somebody close to the file, being the former agent of Karim Benzema, who's still his main counsel right now. In other news, a few dissing comments by Mino Raiola, the famous agent, about French football, which, to be fair, a little bit of it was dissing. Basically, they were talking about Mbappe and Haaland and who's going to come to Real Madrid, and why Mbappe has more chances to come to Real Madrid than Haaland. But Raiola was saying that Paris Saint-Germain is a great team in the worst league of the Big Five, and then said a lot of good things about Paris Saint-Germain, and basically the French media and the media in general, I guess, just remember that Mino Raiola said that PSG was playing in the worst league in Europe, and made quite a bit of a deal in France. It just made me smile, because I think media in general, and French media in particular, are very good to make sure that they remember the bad things, and you gotta have more click, and you gotta sell more paper, so they always I guess exaggerate or emphasize the negative more than the positive. It's what happened with Pablo Longoria's characterization of French coaches last week, and now it happened again with Mino Raiola. Interesting chat coming up, and I think a lot of presidents are actually agreeing now in Ligue. Ligue, who's now played with 20 clubs, would potentially go back down to 18 clubs, and from 2022-2023 onwards, so not next season but the one after. Obviously, the main reasons for that is to try and get the league to be a bit more competitive. It's also to sort of lighten up the calendar a little bit. We know how many games the best team have to play right now during the season, and there's been a lot of complaint, pre and post COVID, about the amount of games that teams have to play and players have to play during the season. So Olas floated the idea that he wanted to have 16 clubs in Ligue 1 only. Olas is the Lyon president, but Longoria also said that he was technically for a league with only 18 clubs. That's very interesting if it does happen. It's always going to be complicated to put in place the year that you're putting in place, because you're either relegating more team, or you're denying the promotion to teams in Ligue 2. But it's quite interesting that it's where this is going with all the chat of the Super League, etc. I for one am probably are for having only 18 teams in Ligue 1. You wouldn't have to have midweek Ligue 1 games, so you can keep those midweek for European Cups and for national domestic cups, which I think would be positive. And at the end of the day, you want our league to be the most competitive possible. And if we take just the example of Germany, who only has 18 clubs, it helps the best team being their best version of themselves. And as much as I don't want anybody else than Marseille winning the Champions League, it'd be great to see Ligue 1 club actually performing in Europa League and in UEFA Champions League, and not only Paris Saint-Germain, just for the sake of strengthening our league and our nation a little bit more. Speaking of promotion and relegation, a quick look at the Ligue 2 table gives us already a good indication of whose clubs are going to come to Ligue 1 next season. And I guess the one who's already sort of done the job is Troyes, L'Estac, as we call it in French, who is the club that was the latest acquisition from the City Football Group, the group that owns Manchester City and Melbourne City, and they have Mumbai and Yokohama, and they have a multitude of clubs right now all over the world. They bought Troyes at the beginning of the exercise, at the beginning of 2020-2021. Not bought, but like brought it into their group, I should say. They kept the same coach in, Laurent Batles, who's doing marvels right now in second division, and they're like 90% in Ligue 1 already. They're 12 points ahead of the next club on the table, and that's going to be very interesting to see. They're 12 points ahead of the first club not to go up to Ligue 1 on the table. It's going to be very interesting to see them coming up, because technically once they come to Ligue 1, they are not allowed to play the Champions League. If Manchester City is playing the Champions League, the same issue would arise that Red Bull is having between Leipzig and Salzburg, excuse me. It might be interesting to see Troyes becoming one of those big clubs in Ligue 1. It always look, when you have a club like this, which is a satellite of City Football Group of Manchester City, that there will be a club where young players develop so that they can go and play for Manchester City later on. But it's also going to be most likely a club that's going to compete for the good rankings in Ligue 1. So I'm looking forward to see Troyes coming back in Ligue 1. Besides them, the fight for the second spot to go to straight promotion and the third spot goes to a playoff is between Clermont, Toulouse, Grenoble, Paris FC, and to a lesser degree Auxerre, who might be dropped from the race now, unfortunately. It'd be good to see Paris FC making it. We are one of those nations that doesn't have any city with two clubs in the same city in the top level. Madrid, Barcelona have two clubs. London has 6. In Germany, Munich has 2, I think, had 2 at one point. Berlin has 2, or had 2. I think now that Hertha's going to go down, went down. Sorry. So a lot of the biggest league have two clubs from the same main cities in first division. We haven't had that in France since maybe the Racing Metro one left Ligue 1, which was probably in the 1990s. So it'd be very interesting to see the Paris FC coming back up, and the Paris FC right now has Julien Lopez, Maxime Lopez's brother, the former Marseille player who now plays in Sassuolo, in their rank. So it'll be good to see another Lopez coming to play in Ligue 1. In other news this week, a bit of rumors when it comes to coaches. First, another coach was announced leaving his job at the end of the season. Der Zakarian, the Montpellier coach, will not be renewed at the head of Montpellier. The announcement was made on Saturday to the players and on Sunday to the press. There was a bit of emotion going on with this. Players like Angie Delors said that came forward saying that they've learned so much under Der Zakarian, and feeling a bit sad about not having him staying. From Montpellier's perspective, Der Zakarian always brought his team at the top of the table. Sorry, I should say on the first half of the table. So he's done a really good job at La Payade. Supposedly they'll be looking for a coach that is not from the cru, as we say, from the Montpellier history, which is something new for Montpellier. They've always had coaches that are from the Montpellier, have played for Montpellier at one point or another. So he's going to be leaving the club. Other coach news, rumors came up about Galtier, the Lille coach, and he came from Fabrizio Romano, the Italian transfer specialist, who's usually pretty reliable, and who said that apparently Ineos, the owner of Nice, have contacted officially Christophe Galtier, and that talks would be on their way, and that Galtier would be keen on taking Nice next season. Surprising. I mean, Galtier is having a stellar season with Lille, obviously on his way to potentially winning the Ligue ahead of Paris Saint-Germain. And you would think that it is the time for him, if he is to leave Lille, to try and try the overseas adventure, to find a club that doesn't necessarily have to be a top of the table club in England, Spain, or Italy or Germany, but export your talent and show yeah, exactly, Matt. Here we go from Fab. But it's usually Fabrizio doesn't lie or doesn't say something that's not true. So there probably are chats between Nice and Galtier. It is surprising that Galtier would consider going to a mid-table team, although Nice is backed by I think he's a billionaire, Ineos' owner, and so there's definitely a project that is worth it down in Nice. But you would think that after Galtier brought Saint-Étienne to the top and then brought Lille to the top, that he would like to, like I said, export his talent and export, I guess, the French brand overseas to see if he can actually succeed in a different environment. The future will tell us, but if he does stay in France and goes and coach Nice, I guess all the better for Ligue 1, because he is a fantastic coach, and there's no doubt that he'll be able to turn things around for Nice. What was that? Oh yeah, sorry, Germain, the forward from Marseille, said that he wants out at the end of the season. He's definitely not entering the plan of Jorge Sampaoli since Sampaoli took over, and so he officially said that he would like to go and play overseas. Obviously, Valère Germain had very, very good season with Nice and Monaco. In his first season with Marseille, he had some ups and downs. On the second season, I think that miss in the Europa League final hurt a lot of supporters and maybe hurt him as well a little bit. And since then, he just hasn't come back to the level that we know he's capable of. He's saying that he's almost 100% leaving Marseille, leaving France, so we'll see where. Valère Germain. The next one, Adrien Hunou, the Rennes forward, has signed to Minnesota United in Major League Soccer. All the best for Hunou over there. I'm sure he'll show his talent. Another rumor, Mike Maignan, the goalkeeper from Lille, has been rumored to be in talk with Milan AC. Donnarumma is on the way out of Milan supposedly, and Maignan, who's right now the goalkeeper with the most clean sheet in the Big Five, is supposedly in talk with Milan AC for a transfer at the end of the season. Oh yeah, I didn't talk about this actually. Galtier to Nice, the rumor came the week of the game between Lille and Nice, which to me it's always weird when a rumor comes the week that the two teams that are involved in the rumor are going to play against each other on the weekend. I tend to sort of half believe those ones. Anyway, that's probably all the news that we had from this week. It's quite a bit going on. It got me going for over 15 minutes. Let's go to our focus of the week. Can PSG do it? Alright, so Paris Saint-Germain lost this week at home against Manchester City 2-1. A loss that will probably be hard to overcome at the Etihad, but nothing is impossible, right? In French, they say impossible isn't French. So they're going to have to do what it takes to go and get a win in Manchester City out of Guardiola's team. No small feat for sure. The keys to the game, the first key probably to the game is, will Mbappe be playing? Mbappe hasn't played this weekend against Lens, injured. There's a video of him arriving in Manchester that has been in social media today, of him limping his way out of the airport and to the car. I mean, it looks a little bit overdone, maybe just a little bit of a like a media war pre-game. But I think he's one of the keys, obviously. After the last game, Pochettino, the coach, said that he was confident that Mbappe was going to play, even though he hasn't been trained. He hasn't been training the whole weekend. Before we get to talk a little bit more about PSG Man City, let's talk about what PSG did this weekend versus Lens. Tough game against Lens, win for Paris Saint-Germain, who would feel, I guess, lucky that they were able to win that game, because it could have gone either way, really. It's a game that Paris thought they could have secured a little bit earlier, but at the end of the day, it's still 3 points. They've won their last 4 games in Ligue 1 Paris, which is their longest run in the top flight under Pochettino, and is their longest run since September, November 2020, at the beginning of the season. For Lens, it's a bit of a surprise. It's their first Ligue 1 loss since the 23rd of January, 3 months without winning, and a run of 13 games without losing, which was the longest in progress right now. Paris have won their last 2 home games, and it's important because they had lost their previous 3. Hard-fought victory for Paris Saint-Germain, who didn't play the best of games. The goal scorer Neymar at the 33rd minute for a mistake by a Lens defender, and Marquinhos at the 59th minute, and Ganago replied just after Marquinhos' goal for Lens, and then Lens kept pushing, but unfortunately could not get the win. A couple of important pointers, I guess, for that game. Lens could actually have scored first. They were pushing straight away. Seko Fofana, the midfielder from Lens, had a beautiful game, and Seko Fofana has an amazing story with Lens. He had a great season in Serie A last year, and teams like Atalanta and Milan AC were after him, but he decided to come to Lens because he was very interested by the project that Lens was trying to build. And he's having a great season. I guess he had a tough start with like 10 games where he needed to try and find his feet, but in 2021 he's just been spectacular for Lens, and it's great to have a young midfielder of his caliber within Ligue 1. We've met a new goalkeeper in Lens this weekend. His name is Walker Farinez, so he might not be somebody that you're familiar with. Walker Farinez, is a Venezuelan goalkeeper who's 23 years old, and although he hasn't played much in Ligue 1, that's his first game right now, he was playing with the Colombian club of the Millonarios, before that, a club that he played with, continental football in South America. He's a goalkeeper that has made a lot of noise young because of his talent and because of how good he's been for both the young Venezuelan national team and the actual first team, plus the Millonarios. It was great to see him starting, and he had a cracker of a game against Paris Saint-Germain. He was everywhere, saving a Neymar free kick at the very end, but also on his line, impassable. Very good, very quick to come out. A bit of a weird build. If you see his body, it looks like he's got the longest legs and a bit of a short torso. But yeah, looking forward to seeing that game. I mean, the usual goalkeeper for Lens, Jean-Louis Lec, is not young anymore, but seeing a guy like Wilker Farinez coming to Lens, after a goalkeeper that like Luka that was born and raised here is quite exciting. And if you're wondering why such a talented prospect at a goalkeeper position ends up in a team like Lens, the same people owns the Millonarios and Lens. So the owner sort of gave a player from one team to the other to make sure that his exposure was right, and that eventually when he's going to, if he's as good as he's supposed to be, when he's going to leave Lens for big money, the money stays in the pocket of the same owner. Anyway, besides that, the game itself, like I said, the first goal by Neymar was offered by Medina, a bit of a bad pass under pressure by by the German midfielder / striker from Paris Saint-Germain, whose name right now escapes me, Draxler, and then Neymar was easily adjusted Farenez, who had been amazing until then. The second goal came on set piece with Marquinhos heading in again, and then just after that, Ganago came back to score a goal. Interesting game. Paris Saint-Germain, Neymar had a good first half, but Paris Saint-Germain wasn't, just wasn't really reassuring. Hard-fought win. I guess I should say, instead of saying Paris Saint-Germain wasn't reassuring, I should say that Lens was really good. We know how good Lens is, but they really, really played that well, and they did not want to lose that game, and they switched off only once during the second half during that set piece that gave the goal to Marquinhos. But besides that, they were all over it. PSG had a Gisela goal at the end, but still was able to get that result, which helped them, keeping in touch with Lille, of course, and cost Lens, the point that they had above Marseille, when they are right now stuck with Marseille at the 5th place. So after that game, obviously Paris Saint-Germain has to straight away put the head back in and get ready for the game against Manchester City, and we need to see something different that we've seen from the first game, right? For Paris Saint-Germain against Manchester City. During the first game, Paris Saint-Germain had an amazing first half. I mean, the comments on social media, I joked a bit on social media that at the end of the first half, Paris was the best team in the world, and at the end of the second half, Paris was a team that was always going to choke. They had a fantastic first half. Not a lot of teams have been able to resist Manchester City the way Paris Saint-Germain resisted them on the first half, and then on the second half they completely crumbled, defended a little bit too low, and allowed the City playmakers, De Bruyne, Gundogan, to actually take the game, to actually get in charge of the game, which cost them in the end the results. So Le Parisien, a famous newspaper in France, said that the team that Paris is going to put forward at the Etihad is Navas, obviously, in the keeper, Florenzi, Marquinhos, Kimpembe, Diallo in defense. It's interesting to see Diallo as a left back, Paredes, Verratti in the midfield, and Di Maria, Neymar, Draxler, and Mbappe up front. Very interesting. That's definitely an offensive team to go to play at the Etihad. I mean, obviously they need a win, so they need to be offensive. But to have, I guess, only Paredes as a real number 6, because Verratti just doesn't have the capacity to defend for too long, I think, as a number 6 against a team like Manchester City, shows, I guess, the intent. If the team is that team and Mbappe plays up front, it's the team that allowed them to get the result in Bayern, of course. Neymar as a number 10 is sort of always a good idea. It's where he loves to play anyway. Having Draxler and Di Maria on each side, I think is the way to go for Paris Saint-Germain right now. Two players that are in extraordinary form for Paris Saint-Germain. Di Maria was probably the best player against Manchester City last week, and surprisingly was subbed. Draxler just really obviously wants to go to the Euro with Germany, and he's doing a lot of good work for Paris Saint-Germain. I think Draxler was missed by Paris Saint-Germain last week because of his defensive work, and I think Verratti was a little bit lost on his left wing, something that Draxler would probably have done really well. I was wondering what they should do to be able to get that result. Do you play with a dense midfield? Do you play with a real number 9? Do you bring in Icardi or do you bring in Keane? Do you put Keane on the side because he's very good at defending as well, Moise Keane? But it looks like none of that will happen. And then I looked at the successful game that Paris Saint-Germain had away from home. Paris Saint-Germain is supposed to be, has been better away from home this season in Champions League. And so I looked at the team that they play against Barcelona, and against Barcelona, Icardi was up front. Neymar wasn't here, obviously, but it was Icardi up front and Mbappe and Draxler on each side, with the midfield Paredes, Gay, and Verratti. That's obviously the game I'm looking at the wrong one. Sorry, give me a minute. That was the game where it was Keane and Mbappe up front, and Paredes, Gay, and Verratti. But yeah, that was the game where they won 4-1 in Barcelona with a hat-trick from Kylian Mbappe. In Munich against the Bayern, when they won 3-2 away, Mbappe was up front, Draxler was on the left, Neymar in the middle, Di Maria on the right, but Danilo and Gay were the two number 6. And when you have Danilo and Gay as the two number 6, defensively you're doing the work, but when your two number 6 are Paredes, who can be a dog and who has the right defensive mindset, I'd say, but Verratti, who's maybe not the most defensive minded player you have in the midfield, I think it's dangerous against a team like Manchester City. I think you're saying that you're going to bring the fight to them and that you're going to play, but I hope that Pochettino has a plan at the half, because I don't see Verratti being able to play more than one half in that role with two number 6, with only Paredes next to him at the Etihad Stadium against a team like Manchester City. I think that's going to be a bit hard. Manchester City, if we look at them, can they actually be beaten? Can they lose a game this season? Or if you look at their recent form, we're gonna extend the stretch. The last 42 games, 3 draws, 3 defeats, 36 wins. The 3 defeats came against Chelsea, Leeds, and Manchester United, and 36 wins is obviously surreal. They're almost already champions in Premier League. I think if Manchester United Liverpool game hadn't been postponed this weekend, if Man U hadn't won, City was going to be crowned champion. So they'll wait for next weekend, but they're most likely going to be crowned champion. If we look at Manchester City's form in Champions League, they've played 11 games so far, 10 wins and only a draw that happened for their very, very first game against Porto, if I'm not mistaken, and that happened in group stages. In those 10 games, they scored 24 goals and only conceded 4. That says the immense task that awaits the Paris Saint-Germain player at the Etihad Stadium. Again, I think Paris can do it. That's the first time that we're going to see Paris in a situation where they don't have to keep the score, so like they did for the remontada against Barcelona or against Manchester United when they win over there and they lose at home. But I would have fancied Paris Saint-Germain to win against any team but Manchester City, because we know how good Guardiola is, because we know how good the team is, how solid the team is. It looks like it's finally all the dots are finally connecting for Guardiola with Manchester City. He's won everything with Barcelona, of course. He's won quite a bit with Bayern Munich, but with City he's won 2 leagues and then has been struggling to go and get that grail, which is getting the Champions League to the club that has spent so much money. I think it's his time. I think it's his year. And unfortunately for Paris Saint-Germain, having to win away in Manchester City is probably the hardest thing to do. Like I said, we haven't seen them in this configuration. We haven't seen them forced to go and get a result away from home. And I think when you have players like Neymar and Mbappe, you always can be dangerous. Neymar can score a free kick from anywhere, can deliver the right pass from everywhere, and Mbappe space. I mean, we've seen it at the World Cup. We see it every week in Ligue 1. We've seen it in Champions League up until today. Is just a weapon that is impossible to stop. So let's see, it's going to be definitely an amazing game tomorrow night in France, Wednesday morning in Australia where I am, and I'll wake up early to make sure not to miss this game. Interestingly enough, Tuchel, the coach from Chelsea, obviously the former Paris Saint-Germain coach, answered an interview this weekend where he was asked about the difference between French football and English football, and he was saying that the difference was just immense. He was saying that in Ligue, he was enjoying the little tactical duels against Niko Kovac and against Christophe Galtier, and that there was on some weeks you had to make sure that the intensity was there, but in Premier League the intensity has to be there every single week, and that you didn't expect it to be that way. You didn't expect it to be such a challenge, and he's obviously enjoying it. But yeah, it's another thing that makes me think that maybe it's going to be hard for Paris Saint-Germain to go and win in City, because those teams, Manchester City, are used to play this game every single week, and we can't say the same for Paris Saint-Germain, unfortunately, because even if Paris Saint-Germain right now is playing must-win every weekend, before this week, before the last couple of weeks, they were not playing that way, and I think to be able to win in Champions League, you have to have that consistent rhythm and those consistent caliber of opponents week in, week out, if you want to be able to beat them when the time comes. Anyway, that's about it for the focus about Paris Saint-Germain. So yeah, can PSG do it? I think they can. I think it's going to be really hard. I think not a lot of teams can win in Manchester City, but I think Paris Saint-Germain, when you have the talent of Di Maria, of Neymar and Mbappe, it can happen. Is it going to be hard? It's going to be mission impossible. It's going to be a miracle, but sometimes it's what it takes to be able to get there. Yeah, thanks Jono for being here. I don't like their chances against Manchester City, but that's the first time that we're going to see them having to go get a result to be able to get qualified for the next round. And I don't fancy any team's chances against Manchester City, to be honest. I think Manchester City are unbeatable, but if a team can do it, it's a team that has Mbappe, Neymar, Di Maria, and all those players, and a goalkeeper like Keylor Navas in their ranks. I think if they come in as like a commando and are focused for the whole game and defend with 11 players, or even 16 if you count the substitute, they have a chance to do it and to get a result there. Anyway, let's talk about Ligue 1 now. Matchday 35. Matchday 35, that was an interesting match day, I guess. A lot of goals, a lot of red cards. 10 red cards were given during the match day. 5 of them were given in the only game between Monaco and Lyon, which means that Lyon now is the team in France that had the most red card in the season with 10. They are the team that had the most red card in the whole of the big 5 leagues in Europe, and that means that now we are at 94 red cards for the season, and way over 1,300 yellow card. Obviously, the referees in France know that every card brings them money, and they're making sure that the league gets the money at the end of the year. Game by game, let's quickly look at the results. Marseille and Strasbourg did what won. 10 red cards is a lot, and it's sad, but it happens in Ligue 1. And to be honest, it was 10. It could have been 14 because a few times the referees, I guess, were a bit too kind and could have given red cards a little bit easier. The indiscipline is pretty bad. It's pretty bad in Ligue 1. It looks like the stream might stop and start again, but I'm just going to make sure it doesn't. Cool. So the results: Marseille and Strasbourg 1-1. Paris Saint-Germain, as we said, won 2-1 against Lens. Lille beat Nice 2-0. Bordeaux beat Rennes 1-0. Nîmes and Reims 2-2. Brest got trashed at home by Nantes 4-1. Dijon lost at home against Metz 5-1. Oh, what is my live thing doing? I'm sorry, I'm learning. Here we go, we're back. You see my emails right there. You go. Not a lot of important thing in my email. Sorry, guys. So yeah, Metz won against Dijon 5-1. Lorient won against Angers 2-0. Montpellier lost at home against Saint-Etienne 2-1. And Monaco-Lyon, the best game of the weekend, the most expected, 3-2 victory for Lyon. And what a game that was at the Stade Louis II. Very quickly, we're going to do a bit of a game by game. Marseille against Strasbourg. Marseille, my club, of course, 1-1. A lot of wasted opportunity for Marseille this season, and that one is another one. 70% possession, 67% possession for Marseille. 7 opportunities, 8 shots, 4 on target. 8 shots, 5 on target for Strasbourg, and just an uninspired side Marseille with Payet, Milik and Thauvin just under the level that you expect them to be at. For Strasbourg, they did what they had to do. They played very, very defensively the whole game. They definitely parked the bus, as we say, and they refused the game basically, which is a bit sad because they definitely have the potential to play. Players like Bellegarde, Diallo, Ajorc, Liénard are strong players that are able to usually play some good football. Unfortunately, Thierry Lauré, the coach, had a plan this weekend, and it wasn't to play football; it was to defend. They played that well, and they almost won the game with a goal at the 70th minute by Mitrovic on a set piece. Thankfully for Marseille, the sub did the job, and Benedetto, the Argentine, was at the end of a cross by Luis Enrique, the Brazilian, to score the leveler for Marseille. Funnily enough, at the end of the game, for the post-game conference, Thierry Lauré, the coach, made a bit of a snarky remark, saying that it wasn't bad for a French coach to be able to have a game plan and stick to it and get points in Marseille. Obviously, that was in reference to what Pablo Longoria had said, that French coach were still looking for an identity. Obviously, I don't know why Lauré said that, but clearly, if the identity is to play 7 players in defense and not attack, he basically told Longoria that he was right about what he said. Anyway, Strasbourg is now 4 points away from Nantes, which is good for them. To be able to be a little bit less under threat from relegation. They are 6 points away from Nîmes, and they will host Montpellier next week. Marseille, with that point, comes back level with Lens at the table, 5th, behind them with a worse goal difference. But I think after the game against Paris Saint-Germain, the goal difference is now actually the exact same. Marseille will travel to Saint-Etienne this weekend, and finally they will play at a time where I can watch them without waking up early, because they will play at 9 p.m. Australian time on Sunday night, which is perfect. Sunday, which is Mother's Day here in Australia. Next game, obviously, we talked about Paris Saint-Germain Lens already. We didn't say, who they were going to play next. Paris is going to travel to Rennes, which is not going to be an easy game, and Lens will be hosting Lille for probably the game of the weekend next week. Second game this week, Lille versus Nice, and Lille, who keeps winning again and again. Lille won 2-0 against Nice. The goal scorer, Burak Yilmaz, at the 13th minute, and Selek at the 56th minute. Lille, who dominated the game, 55% possession, 9 opportunities, 12 shots, 4 on target. Nice with 0 shot, and obviously 0 shot on target, which is pretty sad for a team who has, Kasper Dolberg, Ronny Lopez, Al Boudaoui, Claude Maurice. so much talent and yet unable to even get an opportunity to score a goal. Nice, who was red carded at the 48th minute, Lotomba for a second yellow card, and Nice that just struggled all along the game. In the first half, they just weren't there. In the second half, it was even harder after there were only 10 men. Lille full of success and very lethal. Yilmaz scored on his very first ball of the game, and then you have to, if you haven't seen it, you have to see Selik goal, volley from outside the box, perfect, powerful, precise, in the back of the net. Nothing that Benitez could do on that one. Great win for Lille. Very, very important win. They keep the throne. They stay on top of the league with a point ahead of Paris Saint-Germain, and it's important because the last games aren't going to be easy for both teams. Lille is traveling to Lens, so it's the derby of the north, and a game that Lens always want to win, and this year even more because their future on the European seed might depend on it. And in the meantime, as I said, Paris Saint-Germain will travel to Rennes, who's also trying to get a spot in Europa League. So that's going to be two games that are going to be very important. And then for the last two games, Paris Saint-Germain will host Reims while Lille hosts Saint-Etienne. And the last game, Lille will be traveling to Angers while Paris Saint-Germain will traveling to Brest. It looks like a win for those two teams, Lille and Paris Saint-Germain, all the way until the end. Next week, I think, is the one game that both Paris and Lille might not get the 3 points from, because they are the both games where they're playing against a team who's playing good football right now, who's after points, who needs points to be able to reach their second to reach their objective. Yes, Jono, definitely go and check that goal from Selik. I think if you just go on YouTube, the Ligue channel actually shows all the goals, so you can check that goal from Selik. It's a beautiful goal. Anyway, the race will be on definitely until the end between Lille and Paris Saint-Germain, and it's good to see. And as a Marseille supporter, I hope that Lille's going to win it, of course. But as a French football pseudo journalist, I'm happy to see that the race is going to happen until the end. Next game, Bordeaux against Rennes. Rennes, we were just talking about them. Rennes, who lost in Bordeaux, and a loss that could be costly for them because they are now 2 points behind both Lens and Marseille on the table, with 3 games to play, of course. Rennes, who played most of the game with down to 10 men. A red card was given to Nzonzi at the 8th minute. A red card that was a little bit severe. The ball goes into the air, and Nzonzi, a little bit stupidly, starts to raise his leg instead of trying to go with a header. He's definitely holding himself and trying to not get the leg to touch the other player, but then and because Nzonzi is so tall, ends up sort of like putting his leg on the guy's like up to the guy's kidney kind of thing. So it looks, I think, worse than it is. Interestingly enough, the player injured is not injured but touched, I should say, is Sekou Mara, young striker for Bordeaux, who was starting the game for the first time in Ligue 1, and 3 minutes after he helped Nzonzi getting sent off, he scored his first goal in Ligue 1, the young striker, which is great for the young talent in Ligue 1 to keep happening. Sekou Mara scored the only goal for Bordeaux in a game that they definitely did not dominate, despite being 11 men against 10. 55% possession for Rennes. Rennes with 9 shots and only 2 on target. Unfortunately, Bordeaux with 9 shots, 4 on target. But Rennes that had a multitude of opportunities, that hit the post a couple of times, that just couldn't find the back of the net. Unfortunately for them this weekend, a bit of a breath of fresh air for Bordeaux this win after this the complicated couple of weeks that they've been on. They obviously technically are under administration after their owners decided to stop putting money into the club. Last week they lost 4-1 against Lorient, which created obviously a little bit of upset within their supporters, and their supporters went to their training center and started tagging on their walls and on the floor that they should be shameful losing that way. They'll be happy that they won the derby, one of the derbies of the Atlantic against their neighbor from Brittany. 1-0, it's not the most spectacular win, but it's a win, and it's 3 points that give a bit of air to Bordeaux, because without those 3 points they would definitely be at the mercy of being relegated, even on the field. And they are now 4 points away from Nantes and 7 points away from Nîmes, which hopefully will be enough with only 3 games left. Rennes, we said it, is playing against Paris Saint-Germain next week, and Bordeaux will be traveling to Nantes for a cutthroat game. Nantes wants to win because they want to get close to being saved, and if they win, they would come back only 2 points behind Bordeaux, which then would put Bordeaux under threat of having to play the playoff to avoid going back in second division. Not going back, going straight away. But anyway, you know what I meant. Next game up, Nîmes against Reims, and Nîmes, who needed a win imperatively to try and stay in Ligue 1 this year. Nîmes goal scorer Renaud Ripard, obviously at the 47 minutes. Always Renaud Ripard scores in important games, and Koné at the 72nd. Reims had opened the score at the 30th by Mboukou. Mboukou in great form this season, and another youngster, another first timer in Ligue 1, Flips, scored for Reims at the 81st minute. The stats weren't really in favor of any team. 51% possession for Nîmes, and 14 occasion, 18 shots, 7 on target, and Reims 12 shots, 7 on target. So obviously a very entertaining game. But yeah, a game that Nîmes would have fancied to put away earlier. At the halftime they're 1-0 down, but they should have been 2-1 up, or even 2-0 up. They had the opportunities early on. They could have scored. Unfortunately, they just what Nîmes has been all season, right? A little bit of a lack of clinicality up front, a little bit of lack of creativity in the final third. They thought they did the hardest by coming back thanks to the captain, and then Koné scored, and they thought the victory was there. But then Flips, like I said, for his first in Ligue 1, was able to level with definitely a little bit of we call it réussite in French, a little bit of luck. Unfortunately for Nîmes, in the meantime, Nantes and Lorient both won, which means that it's going to be very hard for Nîmes now not to be relegated. They are 19 with 32 points. Nantes has 34, and Lorient is now leveled with Strasbourg at 38. 6 points away with 3 games to play. It's not going to be easy. They just have to hope that Nantes is not going to win the next few games, and that they're going to be able to take 3 points. Nîmes, who's going to have to go to play in Metz, another team in form, next week, which is never going to be easy. While in the meantime, Reims, who doesn't really have anything to play anymore, will be hosting Monaco. The next game up is Nantes, that we just talked about. I probably gave it away that they won. Nantes, who won 4-1 in Brest. Quite impressive, to be honest, for Nantes to go and win in Brest. The goal scorer, Moses Simon at the 15th minute, Ludovic Blas at the 27th, Imram Louza at the 56th, and Koulibaly on penalty at the 62nd minute. Brest answered by Romain Fèvre at the 83rd minute. The men of Antoine Courboire getting a crucial win despite not dominating the game. 60% possession for Brest on that game, 41 for Nantes. 9 opportunities for Nantes, 12 shots, 6 on target, 16 shots, 7 on target for Brest, who weren't happy obviously at the end of the game. The coach Olivier Dallolio, who's leaving Brest at the end of the season, was saying that the players really need to stay focused and to stay concerned and involved until the end of the season, and that kind of loss against a team that's supposed to be weaker. Shouldn't happen. For Nantes, it's such a great win. It almost made sure that they are not going to be relegated straight away, or at least so he gives them 2 points ahead of Nîmes. We never know, they might lose, but they look like they're on the right spiral right now. They look like they're on a virtuous circle, and that they might be able to save themselves pretty easily. That victory though in Brest sort of means that Brest is not officially saved. Brest has 40 points, they're 6 points away from Nantes, and there's 3 games left. I don't fancy Brest being relegated though, even though they're not officially saved. I doubt that they're going to have any trouble. Next game for both teams, Nantes will be hosting Bordeaux, and Brest will be traveling to another team who's struggling right now, Nice. Alright, the next game up is Dijon against Metz, and another pretty large away win for Metz, 5-1. The goal scorer Lamine Gueye at the 37 minutes, Pape Matarsar at the 42nd, Fouet Chafik at the 70th scored an own goal. So Fouet Chafik is a Dijon defender. Wagner scored at the 82nd for Metz, and Bron at the 85th. Dijon scored by Mama Balde at the 48th minute and took a red card at the 43rd by Bersant. Selina, statistic-wise, 56% possession for Metz, 14 shots, 6 on target, 10 shots for Dijon, only 4 on target, and the 3 points going to the team from Lorraine. Dijon, who have now conceded more than 4 goals in each of their last 2 Ligue 1 games, 5-1 against Rennes, 5-1 against Metz. It's the first for any team in the top flights in Toulouse in 1982-1983, another record that Dijon wants to have. They also conceded 5 goals at home for the 3rd time in their Ligue 1 history, twice obviously. After Rennes again already in 2011 and Lyon in 2018. Metz scored 5 goals this match, which is more than their previous 7 combined Ligue 1 game when they only scored 4 goals. We need to go back to April 2004 to see Metz scoring 5 goals in Ligue 1, which was against Le Mans at the time. And for them to do that away from home like they did this weekend, it was in 1984 against Nîmes. Pretty interesting stats right there. It's good for Metz to sort of keep going with their little run of form. They had a bit of a struggling time, which ended with losses against severe losses against Rennes, Monaco, Lille, Paris Saint-Germain. It's good that they can bounce back. You would expect them to bounce back against Dijon, but it's going to be good for their morale. It's going to be good for the end of their season. All season we thought they were going to be able to play for Europa League football next year, and then the last 5-6 games they just crumbled and weren't able to get back to it. Right now they're not playing anything anymore. They're 10 points away from Marseille. They're not under threat of being relegated either, but they're probably just going to get ready for next season, I guess. Next game, Metz will be hosting Nice, and in the meantime, Dijon, who obviously is already relegated in Ligue 2 mathematically, will be playing in Angers. Next game up is Montpellier versus Saint-Etienne. Very interesting game in Montpellier. Montpellier, who lost at home against Saint-Etienne 2-1. Les Verts scored thanks to Romain Amouma at the 16th minute and Mathieu Debuchy at the 50th. Montpellier had opened the score by Andy Delors at the 6th minute. Montpellier, who for once didn't have possession. It's a bit rare for them, especially at home. Only 45% possession for Montpellier, 55% for Saint-Etienne, obviously. 13 shots for Montpellier, only 2 on target. 19 shots for Saint-Etienne, 7 of them on target. Montpellier, who conceded as many goals against Saint-Etienne this weekend, as in their last 8 matches against Saint-Etienne in the top flight. They won only 1 of their last 9 Ligue 1 games. Montpellier, when they had spurts of of great form this season. They are now definitely hitting a bit of a low to finish the season, and again, that's probably the reason why we're not going to see them in European football next year. Saint-Etienne have won 5 of their last 7 away games in Ligue 1 when they won only 1 of the previous 10, and it's a form that is helping them, I guess, not being under pressure anymore on the table, which was the case up until very recently. Great win for Saint-Etienne. A win away is always, good for the morale. It looks like finally Claude Puel gets something out of his team that are now completely safe with 42 points. It's interesting to see how long it took Saint-Etienne to actually get into a good rhythm, and now they're alternating the good and the less good, but this kind of win against teams that are definitely their rival is all so important. It's interesting to see as well the evolution of football in Saint-Etienne. They haven't been great all season, but then to this weekend collectively they were actually very good. They were actually playing together, and that's without Neyu. That's with Amouma and Kazri up front that at the beginning of the season weren't really playing. So it's an interesting evolution for the Saint-Etienne game that I'm keen to see if it keeps happening next year. For Montpellier, it's a bit surprising. Maybe the fact that they've just been told that their Zakarian was going to leave made it a bit hard for them to actually perform. But they just weren't great when they've been so good all season. They just didn't really play a good game against Saint-Etienne. Anyway, a loss for Montpellier at home 2-1. Next game for both teams, Saint-Etienne will be hosting Marseille, and Montpellier will be traveling to Strasbourg. Alright, just a couple of games left. 3 games left, so should I say. First, Lorient versus Angers. 2-0 win for Lorient. The goal scorer, Johan Wissa, on the penalty at the 44th minute, and Fabien Lemoine at the 48th minute. Couple of red cards given during that game. Lassana Koulibaly for Angers was sent off at the 15th minute, and Julien Laporte was sent off at the 50th minute for Lorient. Excuse the French accent. The stats: 13 shots for Lorient, 4 on target, 9 shots for Angers, 2 on target, 51% possession for Angers, so quite the balanced game, but Lorient obviously more lethal up front. Angers have now lost their last 4 Ligue 1 without scoring a single goal, which is their worst run in top flight since May 1980. 0 goals scored in the last 4 games. It's quite rare enough to be signaled. Lorient, in the same time, have won 7 of their last 9 Ligue 1 home games. Les Merlus definitely are finding their groove when it matters most, when they can save themselves from relegation. They found the net in each of their last 10 home games in the top flight, which is their joint longest ongoing run with Montpellier. Angers have won only 1 of their last 9 Ligue 1 away game against Brest on March the 3rd, and that's the only such game where Angers have found the net in their last 7 games on the road as well. Definitely a bit of a crisis up front for Angers, and something that not Stéphane Moulin, because he's probably going to leave, but whoever is coming next in Angers is definitely going to leave. Whoever is coming next in Angers is going to have to fix the obviously great operation great result for Lorient, who now put themselves 4 points away from Nantes, 6 points away from Nîmes, level with Strasbourg, only a point behind Bordeaux, and see the threat of relegation going away a little bit. Just a little bit, because there is still 3 games to play, and 3 games that are not going to be easy for Lorient. Quickly, we're going to look at the relegation team and who they're going to play. So Lorient is going to be traveling to Lyon that obviously desperately needs a result, and so does Lorient. In the meantime, like I said, Nantes will be hosting Bordeaux, and Nîmes will be traveling to Metz. And then for Matchday 37, Lorient will be hosting Metz. In the meantime, Nantes will be traveling to Dijon, and Nîmes will be hosting Lyon. So Lyon are sort of playing referees for the relegation as well. And Matchday 38, Nîmes is going to travel to Rennes, which is going to be complicated. Lorient travels to Strasbourg, and Nantes hosts Montpellier. Nantes playing against the only team that definitely won't have anything to play at that moment in the season. It doesn't look. It looks grimy for Nîmes, to say the least. It's not going to be easy for them to try and stay in Ligue 1 for sure. Last game. I don't know why I said it's two game. Last game of the weekend, and what a game! Monaco against Olympique Lyonnais. 5 red cards. Maxence Caqueret, Pietro Pellegrini, William Goebbels, Mathieu Desilio, and Marcelo. 4 of those 5 red cards were given after the game because of a brawl, a massive fight between all players at the end of the game. The game was probably as crazy as that last-minute brawl. The goal scorer, Kevin Volland at the 25th minute for Monaco, Memphis Depay at the 57 for Lyon, and then Marcelo for Lyon scored at the 77 after Lyon was down to 10 men. Wissam Ben Yedder leveled on penalty with a beautiful Panenka at the 86th minute, a penalty that was given after Anthony Lopez, the goalkeeper, decided to go out with his fist up and then punched a player in the face while doing this, and so considered a penalty, which is dumb, but we know how Anthony Lopez is. And Ryan Cherki, the young player from Lyon, 16 years old, youngest player to score this season, of course, scored at the 89th minute to give Lyon the 3 points, and a crucial 3 points in their fight for Champions League, and 3 points that will strip Monaco away from their chance at getting the league title, I think. Possession was for Lyon 53%, 17 shots, 5 on target, and for Monaco 12 shots, 4 on target. A game that obviously ended badly and very ugly. End to the game, that fight between everyone, where the referee had to give 4 red cards. But a game that wasn't the most spectacular up until the last half an hour, I guess. Quite cagey and quite, quite disappointing from Lyon up until they finally scored. Quickly, the few stats. Monaco this year have lost both fixtures against Lyon, 1-4 and 2-3, which is the first time they lose twice against Lyon since 2008. It's also in 2008, the last season, that Monaco conceded at least 3 goals in each of their 2 games against Lyon. Yeah, Jono. After the whistle, those 4 red cards, and this time I'm not going to encourage anybody to go and see the images, but yeah, that fight at the end was very, very dumb. Two teams who plays for the title or for the Champions League shouldn't let themselves go at getting into a fight at the end, because losing that many players is going to be very costly for them in the race for the title. Monaco have lost at home in Ligue 1 after scoring the opening goals for the first time since the 15th of September 2019. And last but not least, Lyon are now unbeaten in their last 16 Ligue 1 away games, which is the best current run in the top flight and their longest unbeaten run away from home since March 2005. Lyon found the net in each of their last 17 away games, and they scored 34 goals. A mathematician in me knows that it's an easy 2 goals per game average, which is their best current and their longest unbeaten run in history. The game itself, at halftime, Lyon looked cooked. Monaco, we know how strong they are offensively. We know that defensively sometimes they can be a little bit weak. Lyon just did not challenge Monaco defensively, and Monaco looked like, after they scored by Kevin Volland, it looked like they had the game in their pocket. In the second half, Lyon pushed a little bit more, but not that much, and then that goal from Depay came. A little bit of luck, a lot of talent. Depay comes from the right wing, cuts back inside, resists 3-4 players. See his shot slightly deflected, ended up in the opposite side net. Beautiful goal, and he definitely gave some energy back to Lyon. Kakere then takes a red card, a second yellow, I should say, and a red card, a second yellow that's completely justified. A minute later, and that might be, one of those sliding door moments, Kadewere is guilty of a bad foul and should potentially take a red card at that moment, but only gets a yellow. And then at the 77 minutes on that free kick by Memphis Depay, Marcelo's header finds the back of the net to put that pressure on Monaco. Interesting that Lyon is that team that usually starts well and then crumbles at the end, and then for once found the energy to come back, not once but 3 times, came back to 1-1, then scoring the second goal to be up 2-1, then they concede the penalty stupidly, down 2-2, and then they come back again to win 3-2. It's the kind of energy that you want to see rewarded by a qualification in Champions League, right? Terrible end of game though. Those four red cards given are going to have severe consequences for Lyon. If you look at Lyon right now, Marcelo took a red card, Desilio took a red card, Kakere took a red card. With the accumulation of yellow card, Depay is going to be suspended for next game. Denayer came out injured. You're wondering which defense Lyon is going to play with next game. There's Diomande, there's Balerni. I'm sorry. His name left me right now. Anyway, there's the young Turkish Oskasar, but there's not a lot of Ben Larmi. Excuse me, I was talking about. There's not a lot of options for Lyon, and Garcia made sure he said it. Olas made sure he said it. Both the Lyon coach and the Lyon president basically accused the youth of Monaco of conspiracy to start a fight to try and make sure that Lyon lose players for the final race, so that then they can't keep their position, which is a little bit far-fetched to say the least. But interesting result for Lyon. Winning in Monaco. Not a lot of teams have been able to do that this year, and despite the fact that they're losing half of their team for the next game, it's a result that will make all my Lyon fan friends very happy, especially when it comes from a goal by Ryan Cherki, who now is, I think, the second youngest player or something like that to score a goal, which is quite the feat. First goal in 24 games in Ligue 1 with Lyon for Ryan Cherki. Alright, that's about it for all those games. Let's quickly look at a recap of the scores and the table. So the scores, Marseille Strasbourg 1-1, Paris 2-0, Bordeaux Rennes 1-0, Nîmes Reims 2-2, Brest lost 4-1 against Nantes, Dijon lost 5-1 against Metz, Lorient won 2-0 against Angers, Saint-Etienne won in Montpellier 2-1, and Lyon won in Monaco 3-2. Yes, Jono, Ryan Cherki, definitely a prodigy and a kid that says that he wants to stay in Lyon, so very good for them. And yes, the conspiracy theory about the lack of discipline is pretty funny. Them saying that the players that went to look for a fight are players under 20 that are not in the starting lineup, and that they went to pick up a fight against players that are in the Lyon starting lineup to try and get people out is it's quite silly. I wouldn't be surprised if Madrid were keeping an eye on Ryan Cherki. They got Benzema young, and Benzema is now who he is with Real Madrid, so I wouldn't be surprised if they go and look for Ryan Cherki. On the table, like I wrote, duels everywhere on the table now. Lille and Paris Saint-Germain are going to fight for the title. 76 points for Lille, 75 for Paris Saint-Germain. Monaco and Lyon are going to fight for Champions League. 71 points for Monaco, 70 points for Lyon. Lens and Marseille are going to fight for Europa League. 56 points for each team. Rennes just behind with 54 points. And at the bottom of the table, Dijon is already condemned, but Nîmes and Nantes are going to fight to avoid relegation. Nîmes 19th right now with 32 points, and Nantes 18th with 34 points. A quick look at the goal scoring ladder. Kylian Mbappé all the way at the top with 25 goals, followed by Memphis Depay 19, Wissam Ben Yedder 19, Kevin Volland 16. Interestingly enough, if you look at the assists ladder, Depay is first with 10, and Zinedine Ferrat, the midfielder from Nîmes who's about to go to Ligue 2. He's second with also 10 assists. A shame to see a player of such talent and skill in a team that is struggling badly this season. Next game, Matchday 36. Of course, the game of the week will be Manchester City Paris Saint-Germain tomorrow night. But this weekend, Lens will be hosting Lille. Nantes will be hosting Bordeaux. Lyon against Lorient. Saint-Etienne versus Marseille. Strasbourg, Montpellier. Metz, Nîmes. Angers, Dijon. Nice, Brest. Reims, Monaco. And Rennes against Paris Saint-Germain. Farmers Corners FC, c'est fini. For today at least. Thanks for being here. A few more people than usual on that live. It'll keep going. I think I'll stick to that 9:30 p.m. on Monday night, and a couple of times I'll probably do an early morning for the European crowd to be able to watch it at a regular time for them. Thank you very much for being here. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Jono. Appreciate the support. And I'll talk to you guys again next week to discuss everything French football and Ligue 1. Ciao. Bye bye. Thank you.